tusabe nnyo amagye kaleme kuwamba. Tutwandika kati gawambi negasobola okuwamba. Omunene aganyulwa ate mwenna temuyinza kubeera ku saizi yemu, sikyo? Ffe aba Buganda tusobola okukozesa bakisimba n'esindogoma.
Nalonze ebibiina ebiri mu limelight y'ebyobufuzi ne bwe biba nga tebiri mu parliament.
Naye kisi kifuuse ekisi eggwanga wetwogerera sente tebakyayina bazina mu mayumba gaabwe naye consolidated fund temuli sente.
So, Mr. Chairman, federalism in Uganda is not entirely new. Before the British came here, there was a practice of native law related to local governance. And regions like Acholi, Buganda, Busoga were managing their affairs through the counties, which is a factor of understanding in the federal science. The word federalism is drawn from a Latin word called fedus, the philosophy of endeavoring constitutionally to enable regions share powers between the center and themselves. And when we talk about sharing power, we are talking about state power, talking about independence, we are talking about state functions, we are talking about sovereignty, and we are talking about personal liberties. So how safe are you under your personal liberties in Uganda? Almost in chaos. Mr. Chairman, sir, Uganda is a nation, one of the nations, with diverse peoples, diverse cultures, diverse languages, diverse heritage. You cannot come up and mess up a country that the British feared, respected internationally. They took trouble to study our history and culture of government they found. That is why they named us a protectorate, separate from entities which were named colonies in Africa. That respect should be part of us in terms of understanding. Uganda was a beautiful country. The first 5 years of our independence were glorious. Mbale, which is a town in Bugishu, was spotted as the cleanest town in East Africa. There was political alacrity. There was political success, economic success. Our income per capita, GDP, was second to none in Africa south of the Sahara. Where did all that go? So federalism is not simply dictated, it is circumstantial. There are countries that may not need the federal principles to succeed. But Uganda is such a country that naturally it requires a federal approach to ensure that you cater for the rich mosaic of cultures and languages and peoples that are found everywhere else in Africa. The last 38 years of President Museveni have been chaotic. Good governance in Museveni's 38 years remains to come. There is relative security, but that security is too expensive to last. All the time, the basically must be on the bunker to protect us. This man helped us, yes, to return traditional institutions. Traditional institutions in Uganda, they are so rich, are wasted. They need to come on the ground where they can acquire some powers to participate in the causation of permanent peace and security. So, Mr. Chairman, sir, I also think that the time has come, in answer to our first speaker, for Ugandans to know that they are the back of the Ugandan nation. You cannot rule us as cattle for 38 years without letting us participate and contest in government. This is a shame, Mr. Museveni. When he came to make his first speech, that element which caused the or saved the mothers in Malago to make sure that they don't suffer from injections. This a PhD student, Dr. Karim, in much compared to the rest of the East African territories. Now, I am disappointed by the way Mr. Museveni is managing the affairs of the state, and he has chosen to silence all the situation. In Karamoja, who is benefiting? What is supposed to be Karamoja would also gain a portion. Most of the money goes through Museveni's emissaries, and there is no tax limited to the revenue authority. What about oil? I hear, and I won't thank anybody here, I was a chairman of the Natural Resources and Shadow Minister of Water and Environment, so I know a lot about oil. It is said that raw oil is being produced in Hoima National Park and Windy National Park. How much do they get from the tourism? What about the wetlands, which Museveni has chosen to give away to the Chinese? If we had a federal system of government, every region would struggle to ensure that natural resources are protected, because without national wetlands and forests, you have no guarantee to sustain the flow of hydroelectricity. As we speak now, you people, if you don't pray very hard, the generation of electricity is at stake. Hydroelectricity, because the biggest wetland has already been encroached on in Rwera. That is why people in this particular region no longer command the catch of grasshoppers, because grasshoppers breed through the sands and the grounds of Rwera. That is also a big catastrophe. What about the Bararo who have invaded the northern part of Uganda? I would like to thank the Chief Justice of Uganda, who came out in the open and he said, even if I contradict my man Museveni, I don't care, but the people of northern Uganda have a natural benefit in terms of their resources and the land in northern Uganda. And a federal system of government, nobody will simply encroach on your area. Because you are organized, you have a small government in Mbale, you are always on the alert to protect those resources. What should we do to pursue and to secure a federal system of government? We should go back to what the Honorable Basari was said, articulate and widen the scope of dialogue so that people speak about the affairs of their respective areas. I would propose in my capacity that we can amend Article 178 of the Constitution to declare Uganda as a federal nation, so that the 16 regions listed in Schedule 1 of the Constitution form the basis for the federal development. And the President Museveni stands warned that much as he hates, he has a phobia for, he has no right to interfere with our desire to renew the federal demands in Uganda. President Museveni is an intellectual, but has a phobia for federal governance, for fear of reducing his presidential weight. We are not surprised about that development, because the same person is a socialist and is a great friend of communist giants like Putin. Mr. President has no powers to stop us from adopting a federal constitution. Doing so immeasurably undermines the global right to self-determination. I repeat, the right to self-determination. Most of what has been done in the last 30 years has been in a negation of the freedom of the individual in Uganda. As if that was not enough, I put it to President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni before I end my speech, that he knows what Ugandans need, and he knows that Ugandans need a federal system of government. If that is so, if this man is sincere, why has he created a ministry for Karamoja? Why has he created a ministry for Teso, a ministry for Luero, a ministry for Northern Uganda? Why has he done that? What does that mean? It means he knows the realities, but he wants to treat us as if we are slaves in this country. I would like to end by proposing as follows. This initiative gathering here today has no intention of causing war or contesting anybody. We are coming to fill a gap that we see in space for the good of the people of Uganda. And it does not mean that those that already exist must necessarily be our enemies. No, never. As long as they do things good, we remain in full gear, in a friendly force with them. So nobody should misinterpret this initiative. This initiative is intending to widen the scope of the freedom of assembly, the freedom of speech, the freedom of association, so that where we see a gap, as 5 political parties, we have come in the front to ensure that something is done for the good of this beautiful country. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the people who have been helping us in putting up this important assembly, and to thank you, the press people, for assisting us, because we all know that you, the press people, are also in danger. Why should you hunt a pressman or a presswoman for knowledge? Why terrorize him? Why you beat him or her? He's searching knowledge for the rest of the population, and you are harassing him for the good of himself. That must stop, and the time is now. Thank you very much.
And one of the main things, and which was the focus of and I'm going to the subject that they gave me to discuss, one of the main things that has to be addressed for democracy to thrive is economic empowerment, is financial liberation. People who are economically disempowered have no business in politics because they are going to be bought for a bar of soap. Like, you cannot have meaningful politics amidst poor people, and of course he knows it. That's why he has created that. So now, actually, people who are independent, people who can think, it takes a certain amount of money in your pocket for you to even think. Now, without that, you can't think. So you become vulnerable, and that's the kind of population that communists and people like Museveni want, a vulnerable population. So now, when we talk about financial liberation, we know, for instance, that we live in a very blessed country, very, very blessed country. When I see the resources that we have at our disposal, now I'm talking a bit about economy, as they told me to, you realize that there are very few countries that you can say are as blessed as Uganda. And good leadership would show us that in our pockets. Because I was reading, there was a CNN did a survey on what was the main thing that causes tourists to go to a country. What's the main thing? Do they go because they are animals, because they are what? You know, and all these other things. And the top consideration for all tourists is weather. Number one is weather. People be in cold weather, they are in winter, and they just want to come and experience the sun. But then they also don't want too much of the sun like South Sudan. They want just a bit and enough sun like Uganda. Now, and actually, Uganda was mentioned in that thing as one of the countries with the best weather. And where people would go if we had just basic, things that could attract them other than the weather. Now, Uganda of course, as I mentioned a lot during my campaign, has, of the 5 initial East African countries, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi, before the others were added, Uganda has 49.7% of the arable land, that is the fertile land in all these countries. The other countries share the other half. We have half of that arable land. But we import foodstuffs from Tanzania. We import a lot of foodstuffs from Kenya, but they don't have, they share half of the arable land in East Africa. The other 4 countries, we have the half, but we don't have that. So now, then of course, when it comes to things beneath the earth, which we are discovering every day from things I call extractives, things like oil, minerals, and stuff like that. Now, I'll tell you this. We are blessed in the air, we are blessed on the ground, and we are blessed under the ground. But, and this is very important, I have been seeing the new minerals that have been discovered, but there is no Ugandan who is going to celebrate, because, you know, as long as this dictatorship is there, it is going to belong to a few people. Now, we want to create an economy that is inclusive, where everybody celebrates when the country gets, when the country finds something very, very, for instance, it was very, very powerful minerals worth trillions of shillings. And people should celebrate, but they will not, because you know what's going to happen if these people are here. And we can talk about good governance, constitutional law, what, all that, but we are kidding ourselves as long as Museveni is president. So we have to look past him, and we are looking past him, and we are preparing for the time past him, when the economy of this country and the land distribution and the things that Honorable Lukyamuzi talked about, because now, imagine they float a law which is saying that all land in the country should belong to the government. Where is federal? It's dead in the water with such a law. So now, before I even talk of federal, we have to talk about how is the land distribution. How come we have so many laws and so many acts on land where somebody can have a land title for the same piece of land and all of them apparently are legitimate, and that is done on purpose, and then they end up in court, and the court case takes 15 years. So now that kills development. You cannot construct. Imagine you had a loan from the bank and you wanted to construct a hotel like this. I'm giving an example. And as soon as you get the piece of land and you're going to start constructing a hotel, somebody comes up with a land title for the same piece of land, which is apparently legitimate. Then you go to court. Now, court is going to take years, in which time your interest is accruing. You already had the loan. So now that's how people are being made broke. And all these things are done intentionally to financially disempower us as Ugandans. And now a population which is financially disempowered is very easy to govern, because they are desperate. And by the way, even investors were saying the other day, because of the controversies surrounding land, they can't come and invest in Uganda. Now they say foreign investor, controversies surrounding land, because you have to guarantee that if somebody has gone through the channels and got a land title, he can go ahead and construct his investment, and there's not going to be any contest. But there are now so many contests. Courts are full of contests about land, some of which are obnoxious, preposterous, but they are there, and they are stopping people from developing land. And so we are going to be in that quagmire for a very long time because of one thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, my issue is this. My colleagues, if we must be confrontation, we will be. Okay? I'm good at that. We will not seek to be confrontational. And by confrontation, I mean everybody. Even if it means with the people who are apparently in opposition with us. If they do not push for the same goal we are pushing for, preparing Ugandans for post-Museveni era, then we shall find a place to be confrontation. Because that is our number one goal. We are preparing Uganda and Ugandans for a time when this nightmare is over. And now, we do not want him to be the only one who is apparently preparing his own transition, and everybody else is supposed to be quiet. So now we are coming to fill a gap which had been left. Actually, Honorable Times mentioned it. There is a gap which has been left where somehow you are supposed to keep quiet. I'll tell you this. Even if Museveni was my father and is his age, I'll be talking about a time when he's not there. That doesn't mean I don't want him. That doesn't mean I would want him to die if he was my father. If he was my father. That doesn't mean I would want him to die. But if even your father, you love him, you want him to be around, but you have to prepare for a time when he's not there. Otherwise, you wake up in the morning and everybody has taken the property. You have to say why. We love our father. We wish he lives 20 years longer, but maybe he will not. So let us prepare for a time when he is not there. Now, in that case, at stake would be a family estate. Now, what is at stake is the nation of Uganda. It's a very big project at stake. We cannot leave it to chance. And we are here to say we are not leaving anything to chance. We are preparing the nation for such a time as that, and it is going to come very, very soon, one way or the other. It is going to come soon. So now, when it comes, the question is, shall we be ready? Shall we be economically? I mean, shall we be in position to actually liberate people financially? Because the process of financial captivity is so long, I can't, bring it out here in a short discussion like now. But the financial captivity is very steady, where people are actually totally captive. And it's almost like there's a ceiling beyond which a certain kind of person can't go unless he has certain connections or certain, and they know it, and people go and they know it, there's a ceiling. I can't go beyond this. I will go and I will probably, the best I can do is have my head on the ceiling. After that, if I try to go, they will chop you and you can even come all the way down. So you can somehow stay there. Now that's the financial liberation I was talking about way back, and I'm talking about now. And now I put it in my party name of economic empowerment, empowering people economically rather than disempowering them and giving them handouts as we have right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will not push any further than this. But I would say that the reason we call ourselves a holy alliance was the alliances which are not holy. Okay? By definition, the alliances which are not holy, not everybody is holy. The alliances which are trying to propagate the current dictatorship, and they are there. I'm saying, like, for instance, to pass it on from one generation to another. Those are unholy. Anything that seeks to prolong a dictatorship is unholy. And the other unholy, we shall see them as they come. The Bible says we shall see them by their fruits. We shall know them by their fruits. So now, since now we've said we are Holy Alliance, we are going to give forth fruits of the Holy Alliance. Okay? Pushing for the right things: democracy, freedom, dialogue, meaningful dialogue. Then we shall see those who are unholy, and we shall identify them by their fruits. What are they pushing? What are they trying to put in our society? Is it the kind of Uganda that we want? Is it the aspiration of what Ugandans actually are looking forward to after this? Because the best thing we hope is after this, we shall forget about Museveni. We wish that 2 years after Museveni, he's forgotten. We wish he's forgotten even before his first worm touches his body. But, and then we can start rebuilding our country beyond him. Okay? You understand? You see, there are some people who don't even want us to talk about him dying as if he's immortal. He's not. He will die. So, as with all of us. Okay? Now, the thing is, but we've seen countries, and I will end with this, where people waited so many years for a dictator to go, and when he goes, they actually say, at least things were better in the days of the dictator. Man, that scares me. There's nothing that scares me like that. Nothing scares me when I wake up in the morning like the prospect that we can ever look back to the days of Museveni. I want us to look forward the way Kenyans were post-Moi, when they said that was an era which ended, and then they entered an era which was different, where things were done differently. People were not locked up in safe houses, and and the country changed But it did not change by mistake. It changed because Kenyans were discussing actively, dialoguing on a post-Moi era. So when the Moi went, they were ready for that era. That's what we are here for. If you think it's going to happen by chance, that somehow it will not happen by chance. We have to be actively involved in creating that post-Museveni era that we want. Then conversely, of course, there are countries like Congo where people waited for Mobutu to go, and he looked like he was not going anywhere. He looked invincible. Then one day they wake up and he's not there. And they are not ready at all for the post-Mobutu era. So the whole country goes into confusion, total confusion. There is Kabila president there, but there's some others here in Kisangani, the others where it wasn't even a country. Okay? And I remember watching a documentary in one of those international channels, and people from Zaire now, which was the Democratic Republic of Congo, were saying, at least Mobutu. And I said, you waited 30 years, and then you are saying at least it was better. Now, that is what I don't want in Uganda. And it will not, for us to get past that, and nobody ever says we look forward to, we look, look back with nostalgia to the days of Museveni. We have to be prepared. Now, that's what these gentlemen here and I are doing, preparing us so that when the nightmare goes, we are ready. And 1 year later, everybody is like, man, that is a gone, that's a bad part of our history. We can write off the way you write off a days when you were poor and you got money. Now, that's what we want, and that's what we are striving for. And we are going to involve every Ugandan, as Honorable Sariwa said. We are going to go from place to place to have views on how people want this Uganda and involve them and make them be stakeholders in their country, because we want stakeholder leadership. Thank you very much. I'll end there.
Gwe omuzadde eyitaze essomero erigenda okubangulira omwana wo nga muyeeya mukozi ate ayite ne first grade katukwanjulire Shehan Standard Day and Boarding Primary School abagenda okuteeka ebyensoma by'omwana wo ku mutendera ogusingira ddala empisa eddiini ebyemizannyo n'obuyiiya bwonna tubikulembereza ddala ng'ate ebyokulya n'ebyensula bya mulembe ddala tulina n'entambula eri abayizi abaviira ewala gwe ate omuzadde eyandiyagadde omwana wo okuyita ne first grade totunula obulala wonna okwewandiisa kugendera ddala maaso okuva ku nursery paka ku kibiina ekyomusanvu day ne boarding ng'ate n'ebisale birungi ate bisobokera ddala jjukira nti requirements zonna omwana wo azisanga ku ssomero tusangibwa Lubaga mu Bulwa zone okuliraana 24/7 motel gwe ayagala okumanya ebisingawo tukubire ku noti 773 73 359 ne noti 757 noti 6 26 96. Shehan Standard Primary School. We invest in education.
Tekyabadaza ku Masaka Road, Chiwawo ku Mityana Road, Busunjo, Baka, Mende Kohima Road, Bombo Road, Gayaza Busiika, Gayaza Kayunga n'okwetulula Mukono yonna saako mu bitundu bya Uganda ebyenjawulo. Basoloza amayumba g'abapangisa era nga bazimba n'okuwa pulaani z'amayumba. Senjale bebokka abakulaakulanya omuntu wa wansi n'okumuzzaamu essuubi.